Welcome to our series on Path to Nibbana. This is part 4, and we'll be discussing the last 6 subjects on Sowan. As you recall from our first video, there's 4 steps to attaining Nibbana. That's Sowan, Sakrudagami, Anagami, Arihat. And at each step, you will be studying different subjects. And all these subjects would help us to train our mind to see things as they really are. So, subject number 1 was learning to be the best person you can be. We already did that in video number 2. And then number 3 video, we learned how to start training your mind to stay focused. So today we'll start by looking at the concept of Sakkaya Ditthi. For that, we have to pause for a second and think, who am I? And then we realize that really we are made out of 2 parts. We have a body and we have a mind. So let's first look at our mind. In the traditional Buddhist philosophical teaching, there's 7 volumes describing the minute details of our mind. The study is called Abhidhamma. But the good news is you are not trying to get a PhD on Abhidhamma. So therefore, the amount of knowledge we need is a lot less to get our PhD in attaining Nibbana. This is the first concept you have to understand, which is when we look at our mind, we see that a thought comes, stays for a fraction of a second, and then disappears. And then another thought comes. So you can see that we can only have one thought at a time, but they happen really fast. And they are constantly changing, and there is nothing permanent in our mind. The second concept. As we learn to look and observe our mind, we realize there is no permanent boss called me inside our mind. So to summarize, we can only have one thought at a time, and they are constantly changing. There is nothing permanent in our mind, and there is no permanent boss called me inside my mind. Now let's look at our body. Let's see whether this boss called me is hiding somewhere inside our body. So for that, come with me and we'll look at each part of our body. Let's start with the brain. And when you really look within, you realize there was no boss called me hiding anywhere inside my brain. And the same way, if you slowly scan your body, you will see that the boss is not hiding in your face, your eyes, your ears, nose, tongue, neck, so on and so forth. So this is another concept you will realize, that there is no boss called me hanging around inside our body either. So then, where is this boss called me? The one that we all keep referring to all our lives. Where is it hiding? We didn't see it hiding inside the body. We didn't see me hiding inside the mind, neither in your feelings or your thoughts. So, where is it and what is it? That's when you realize this boss called me is just a mental construct. It's something that our mind made up. In other words, it's an illusion. So, this illusion that there is a permanent entity called me inside our mind or body is called Sakaya Ditti. Once again, this is a very important concept. This illusion that there is a permanent entity called me inside our mind or body is called Sakaya Ditti. Elimination of this illusion is the subject we have to master. Theoretically speaking, as you learn the art of observing your mind and objectively looking at your body, you realize that really this is true. But it's very, very hard to eliminate old habits. So hence the reason you have to contemplate frequently. And exactly how you do that, we will discuss that in another video. So we are now looking at the 8 subjects of Sowan. And in Arihat, we have to look at 3 subjects. So there is another concept that I'd like to share. The 3 subjects that you look at finally are Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatma. Let's focus a little bit on Anatma. Atma is the sense of self. So then you begin to wonder what's the difference between Sakaya Ditti, which is something you master at the level of Sowan, and Atma, Anatma, which is something you master at the PhD level. For that, we have to pause and think about who is me and what is our sense of self or Atma. If you really pause, you'll realize that it's a multi-dimensional construct that we have created in our mind. If you see, you will talk about your body and you have a sense about your body. You have a perception about the outside world. And we carry out actions, and you say, I am carrying out actions. And then there is a constant narrative in our head about me. Also, there is another perception about what will so and so think about me. So, if you see, this concept of me is really multi-dimensional. But now let's revisit the concept of Sakaya Ditti. Sakaya Ditti is the illusion that we have a permanent entity called me somewhere inside our body, either in our mind or the body. As you learn the art of observing your mind and objectively looking at your body, this concept of Sakaya Ditti becomes a lot easier to understand than getting rid of that complex multidimensional sense of self. Hence the reason you need to do a lot more contemplation and a lot more deeper understanding of this subject before you eliminate that. And hence the reason you do that only at the level of the PhD. Again, I have to emphasize, because these are old habits, we have to contemplate frequently. Going back to our 8 subjects for Sowan, we just completed understanding the concept of Sakaya Ditthi. Next, let's look at eliminating doubt. Actually, this happens naturally. And the reason for that is, as we observe our own mind and our own body, the concepts become real to you. So, really, there is no place for doubt, because you are the one who's carrying out this experiment and making the observation. So, the doubt dissipates naturally. The last thing is about avoiding unnecessary rituals and practices. The best way I understood it is as follows. Let's say you walk into a library and your goal is to get a PhD in chemistry. But as you walk into the library, there are sections on the English language, history, geography, so on and so forth. But frankly, you're not going to waste your time going into those sections, because your mission is to get your PhD in chemistry. So, likewise, just now we are trying to get our PhD in attaining Nibbana. So, it's it's common sense rather that we will not be interested in unnecessary rituals and unnecessary practices that are not going to help us in this in our mission. So that too will happen naturally. So today we talked about Sowan and the last 6 subjects. Next time we will discuss Anitya. Again, a very important reminder. Realize that we have a lot that we do not understand yet. So it's very important to stay humble, and very important to keep learning and contemplating, and also help and nurture each other. Do take a moment to join our mailing list at zenexercise.com so we can share additional resources. And also you'll find links to several free downloadable books that really help me understand this subject. Thank you for listening, and please do take a moment to share this with like-minded friends.